Thank you very much, my colleagues, for being here today, and all those who are joining remotely through our online systems. Appreciate your presence. So the music which was being played is inspired by the writings of Jalaluddin Rumi from 12th and 13th century, who was born in Afghanistan, which lies right next to India. Then he died in Turkey. That's where they have a statue of him. And he was one of the Sufi mystics that inspired a whole religious philosophy about love, kindness, and working with each other. And that tradition of Sufism continues in India, especially in the north part where I grew up. And lots of writings done by those scholars, philosophers, and mystics and saints really influence quite a bit of the work that occurs in that part of the land, and it connects us what we do here. Over the last few days or couple of weeks, our province and our communities have gone through very tough times, and because of the tragic killings in the James Smith Cree Nation, and that really tells us the amount of work that we still have to do with kindness, with care, with love, and bringing in ideas like Sufism into our thinking. And the role that the universities play in creating that environment and the work to really create equal opportunities for every community, to advance their education, their wellness, their healthcare, and their standing within the society as an equal, is something that University of Saskatchewan does and will continue to do in the coming years and decades. And I want to thank Daniel Helen and the media team and Tonia Virchenko in helping me put together this presentation. They did remarkable work over the last few days. Thank you so very much. And what we have been doing at University of Saskatchewan for the last few years is trying to reframe the research narrative, the teaching narrative, and what this university does for our communities locally and globally. And this we do because our vision is to be among the best in the world in some selected areas, and we do so by building on the past and be really strengthening the foundations, and then we really accelerate what we do. We really speed up at some point, and that advances not only the art and the social sciences and the biomedical sciences, but really it enhances the impact and the reputation of the university at the local and the international levels. That's what we try to do. And when we look at what we do, there are the numbers. Maybe there are only 2 slides that have numbers on them. So it's simply to give you a glimpse of the type of the things and the amount of the work that we all did over the last year. Thousands of students participate in the undergraduate research experience. There are thousands who do graduate research. We have more than 140 researchers. If you look at the number of contracts which are processed through the research office that lost 14 positions 2 years ago, then you can imagine the amount of work and the amount of hours that the team puts in making sure that applications are submitted on time, contracts are done, and the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of research revenue flows through our system in partnership with Vice President Finance and his team. And when we look at international work, look at the number of countries where we are engaged. And last year was the year when we brought record amount of international project funding, around $32 million. So again, numbers are numbers, but imagine our colleagues behind these numbers, scholars, students, people who make things happen in the offices, and without them, this would not take place, of course. Research revenue story, again, capturing in this graph. If you look from 2017 till now, there is ups and downs, but the main point is that we have never been below 250 million from 2018 till now. If you look at the low peaks, they are also trending upwards. It again shows that our progress and trajectory of that progress is on solid ground. And the reason you might think why there is less money this year compared to last year, because there was quite a bit of COVID-related funding from the federal government, which our scholars were able to secure to make a positive contribution in fighting this pandemic. So we are on a very solid ground, but we have lots of work to do together in the coming years. The reason we will be successful is because of a cadre of outstanding scholars at University of Saskatchewan. When you look at Dr. Laurie Bradford, a Canada researcher, she is looking at social and the cultural aspects of engineering design. She is looking into how to bring indigenous perspectives when we build buildings, and that's a very influential piece of work. And Dr. Price is designing some of the latest probes to not only image complex human and animal diseases, but how to target that precise site where the disease is with a radioisotope. And we are all connected by story. I told you a story about Jalaluddin Rumi. Dr. Bidwell is looking into storytelling, how the stories connect indigenous communities and how the stories connect indigenous communities with the newcomers to the country. Very influential work that our scholars do. And when we look at cutting-edge research funding mechanisms in this country, we are again at the forefront. Dr. Graham George is looking at the role of metals in inducing neurological disease such as multiple sclerosis. And Dr. Leon Koshin uses our outstanding imaging platforms to look at the interaction of the soil with the root system so that we can develop the crops that can withstand climate change, so that our crop development center and agriculture programs continue to deliver the type of science that the world needs for global food security. I take issue with Dr. Tim Sharbel. I think he is on a mission to prevent canola from having sexual reproduction. I need to go and talk to him. I mean, this is, a joyful thing that canola does. He wants to turn it into asexual reproduction. And he thinks that's a better way of doing things. But, well, I grew up in the land that produced Kama Sutra book, right? So I need to go and talk to Dr. Tim Sharbel, but really, they bring in the money from New Frontiers program, really outstanding work they do. I was with Dr. Ramsden when she was inducted as a fellow of Canadian Academy of Health Sciences last week. Think about the scope of the work that she has been doing. From the communities in the northern part of Saskatchewan to the villages in southern India, that's how her work has been impacting the healthcare of the communities that don't have the resources or optimal healthcare for themselves. So this is the scope of the work that Dr. Ramsden has been doing for so long. And that's why she has been inducted as one of the 71 new fellows of Canadian Academy of Health Sciences. And Dr. Don Cockcroft, he had changed the way we look at asthma. As the Distinguished Researcher Award winner from this year, and Dr. A.J. Dalai is turning canola waste into pellets that can be used to offset the use of the natural gas and the fuels as part of the energy transition in our society. So really impactful work that the senior scholars have been doing, and I think Dr. Dalai is one of the longest CRC holder in our country at this point. Really impactful work. And when we look at the new researchers, this really creates the trajectory that I showed you in our funding. Over the last 5 years, Dr. Markus Brinkmann came from Germany, and he has really charted a new course in aquatic ecotoxicology, which builds on one of the best toxicology programs in the world that we have with the top-notch program in water research that we have, really combining those pieces together in the scholarship that he does. And energy, I spoke a minute ago. You know, our grids are susceptible to threats from international actors who may not like what we do. So therefore, creating microgrids that are resilient, they are not part of a bigger structure, is something that Dr. Liang does. And she is the winner of the new Researcher Award this year. And when we look at the team-based work, this is the story about which I'm going to pick up in a minute, the collaboration. We do our great work at University of Saskatchewan when we collaborate. And this, again, is an example how 3 leaders came together to develop a program to look at COVID-19 surveillance using the wastewater. What an impactful service they have done to the society through the work, building on the disciplinary platforms that they have into creating a program. Then the training of postdocs, research associates, graduate students as part of this project again signifies our role in creating the next generation of leaders in science to really move us to a better place. Again, picking up the story about collaboration, a few years ago, I had a chance to go to Uganda to visit Makerere University. There, I spoke to them about Dr. Claire Card. She has, of course, been a leader in developing an indigenous outreach program with the Larange area First Nations to look at the stray dog population. But she also has been taking students to Uganda for many years as part of an externship. That cross-cultural competence that students gained by going to Uganda and building that externship program is something that leaders at the Makerere University spoke so appreciatively, and that's when I learned Dr. Claire Card's work, and she, of course, is the recipient of the Ivany Award this year. And of course, we all know the work that Vido has done. Volker Gertz, a leader internationally, nationally, when it came to our pandemic response and his leadership in thinking about building Canada's pandemic center and the level 4 biocontainment facility. Policymakers talk to him all the time as to how we are going to prevent and manage next pandemic. And when we do great work, our national leaders feel proud of the investments which they are making at University of Saskatchewan. Prime Minister Trudeau came, spent time with our president, visited with the indigenous students, went to the crop development center that has delivered 500 varieties in 50 years, and spent time at Vido and spoke so appreciatively of the work that Vido has done in protecting Canadians during the COVID-19 pandemic. Similarly, our premier came along with a federal minister and our mayor. Premier Smo was the first one to put $15 million on the table to build Canada's pandemic center. So our governments at all levels appreciate the work that we do. They want to invest more at University of Saskatchewan because of what we have been doing for more than 100 years, because we collaborate. We have this open approach to work together with communities and do the things that really add to the sustainability of our communities locally and globally. And this I always remain very proud. The partnership with College of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, Dean Debbie Burston, and research office working together to enhance our undergraduate student research experience. This was in this room in August at the end of the poster displays, recognizing 3 outstanding undergraduate students as the winners of the first, second, and third place in the poster competition. We continue to engage with our communities. The more we tell our communities what we do, the more they know the importance of the work that we do. As part of this series that Heather Pearson and our research profile and impact team created, where Indigenous scholars like Dr. Holly Graham, Dr. Helen Fowles talk about the work that they do. Dr. Fowles is a chair in kinesiology, is a CIHR stroke chair, and her work is very impactful when looking into cardiovascular disease and stroke within the indigenous communities. So again, building programs like this where we can talk about the stories and collaborate with other leaders like Dr. Angela Jaime in the indigenous engagement is very impactful. We have a tagline, university the world needs. As President Stoichev says, it's not the only university the world needs, but we are university that the world needs. Now, why does the world need us? It is because of the work. Some examples, recently on a trip to Bangladesh, I had a chance to meet with the Prime Minister of the country. She went back 50 years when Canada was the first nation to recognize recently independent Bangladesh. They got hit by a famine right away. Canada provided food. Then over the last 50 years, College of Agriculture and now Global Institute for Food Security has collaborated with agricultural scientists in that country to create food security. That country now is sufficient in the rice production for their own people, and Canada has played a major role in that. When it comes to expanding and supporting our farmers through expansion of the irrigation system, we are creating certificates led by College of Agriculture Bioresources, College of Engineering, and Global Institute for Water Security. And then on and on, look at the research junction where we give grants every year and they fund how to make downtown more livable, how to look at contaminants in the wastewater in the city. Very impactful projects that we fund together in partnership with the city. Again, working with the communities, taking the issues that matter and finding solutions to those. And I was talking about Dr. Eric Price and the work which is done at the Fedoric Center for Nuclear Innovation, building on 60, 70-year-old tradition of strong research in physics and nuclear sciences. Look at the thousands of patients that have benefited from the radio probes which are created at the cyclotrons situated at the University of Saskatchewan. And we continue to develop new probes. Currently, there's one in human trials which can be used to image prostate cancer at a very early stage, just as an example. And when Saskatchewan looks as if nothing happens here during the winter, but the work being done by Dr. Suresh Kalagnanam and Irfan Mahmood Zadeh with funding from MyTax is exactly looking at that. How can we have more economic activity in the city during the winter times? Very creative work with a social impact. And then partnership between community university institute led by Dr. Findlay and Dr. Keith Da Silva looking at poverty, oral health, and federally they are trying to create a program for dental care in our country. This is our art. I mean, think about the work that Dr. Carla Rose is doing. I know many new immigrants who came to this country who were actors in their native lands. They could not find work because the plays, the settings were not fit for their skin colors, the way they spoke English. And here is an impactful program done by Carla, Professor Rose, to look at the different types of lighting and the skin color palettes so that people can participate in the artistic endeavors in the country they choose to be their home. Transdisciplinary education collaboration for transformation and sustainability, TRANSECT, which is a major shark partnership grant led by Dr. Maureen Reed, who is internationally recognized scholar in that area, is a very impactful work. Creating program for children of the newcomers to Saskatoon and high schools to use music, songs for a literary skill development led by Dr. Jennifer Lang. Really impactful work, and we are participating in some of the reorganizations which are happening in College of Arts and Science. We remain ready to support our artists in their work that they do. The work by Dr. Alex Wilson from College of Education, again looking into identity when it comes to providing care to HIV-infected youth in the indigenous communities. Very important work that he does. This is something which we have heard about this project. Again, think about combining senses. When we listen to music, what type of images come to our mind? The piece of music composed by Dr. Dean McNeil and Paul Sukin and Silas Friesen together, then Professor Glenn imagines the images which come to her mind. Then those drawings were done by our students, Shelby Lund and Lucy Zhao and Nicole Leroy. What a creative, interdisciplinary work, impactful work takes into the way we think, the way we imagine. And so it enriches our life through this type of music and drawings and art that this university produces. And when we think about Indigenous leadership, our leadership in Indigenous health research, we coordinate a national network. Dr. Caroline Tate and Dr. Bobby Henry and Simon Lambert. They organized a graduate student gathering here to talk about Indigenous health research. And then the books written by Pam Down, Dr. Jim Waldron, Clint Westman, looking at how Indigenous communities are received and shaped Christianity, for example. How do Indigenous communities in Belize, they look at healing and medicines which they use? Not only through this work we bring indigenous knowledge to the fore, but we also learn how we can work with indigenous communities in a respectful manner. And we also learn how research office can support logistics of doing that work, because they are not standard ways of working, doing research when we partner with indigenous communities. So, and then Dr. Ken Coates and Lolene Berdahal writing their op-eds and standing columns to really shape our thinking about pressing issues in our communities. We have large-scale programs. One of the highest success rate at NSERC creates, and Dr. Ron Brodsky has led us on this path for the last 7-8 years, and we continue to do very well in funding from NSERC when it comes to create programs and discovery grants. This was the large one last year, a few months ago, big project, large applications, and meetings with the review panels, but eventually really a success which no other university has had in a while. Taking away 25% of the total funding available, 100% success rate, not only securing funding for 3 existing MSIs, but getting a new one. When many universities lost their funding, we were able to add one more. This is the type of work our scholars do. This is the type of support they get from the research office, and that's where we are. Here is a short video, please.
How can Canada stay at the forefront of global scientific research? The Canada Foundation for Innovation has granted nearly $170 million to 4 flagship research centers at the University of Saskatchewan. Awarded more than 1/4 of all the major science initiative funds allocated, USask is leading the way. The world needs the best in imaging science. USask researchers probed the structure of matter with Canada's only synchrotron, the Canadian light source, helping advance cancer therapy, solving antibiotic resistance, improving global food security, and making a greener future possible. The world needs safe water. USask researchers at the Global Water Futures Observatories gather data from an integrated, state-of-the-art network of basins, rivers, lakes, and wetlands across 7 provinces and territories, developing solutions for the world's droughts and floods, keeping waterways safe from toxic contaminants, and helping tackle the impending water crisis. The world needs reliable technology and communications networks. USask researchers map the space weather above Canada using SuperDARN, the Super Dual Auroral Radar Network, predicting electromagnetic storms in the Earth's upper atmosphere, protecting technologies like GPS and pipelines, and safeguarding the world's electrical grids and navigation equipment. The world needs freedom from illness. Researchers at the Vaccine and Infectious Disease Organization study new and re-emerging pathogens, preparing for the next pandemic, developing and manufacturing vaccines and other treatments, and protecting human and animal health from the threats of tomorrow. The world needs the University of Saskatchewan.
If you think about the purpose of the university to create sustainability in the ways of the life of our communities, this is the only ranking that measures it. It is aligned with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and that's what University of Saskatchewan does, and that's what actually every academy does. And this is where we are number 58 out of more than 1,400 universities. I think all the stories I went through simply to tell you that they are also visible to the outside world, the work that we do. And I think we are so proud of our students, our staff, our faculty members, everybody who participates, and the governments that invest in our university. Really, that's where we are. We are holding our own in our other rankings too, but to me, this is the ranking that really matters. I will say the same even if we drop in this ranking, because this is the ranking that truly measures in many ways what the universities are all about. And now the second purpose of today's gathering was to talk about the priorities that I spoke to last year. How have we done on those? Which are the ones we could not get going? Which are the ones which are under progress? And then that allows you to think and reflect and advise me how to do better next year. You will also hear about the set of priorities which have been identified for 22-23. So, Canadian Light Source, Saskatchewan Institute, International Indigenous Health Research Training Center. These were three big projects. Through strong government advocacy, we are lucky to have Sarah Daniels and our president who engages with the provincial and the federal government. We were able to secure $15 million to upgrade the CLS, energy source. A major investment that will keep the CLS going, the current one up to 2035, maybe up to 2040. And then we have built a joint oversight committee. Saskatchewan Institute agreement has been signed. Dr. Irene and I have allocated a Canada research chair to really advance the work which we do in partnership with Saskatchewan Institute on archaeology, for example, plains archaeology, and supporting their initiative for a UNESCO heritage site application. We are supporting Chief Darcy Bear in the efforts to develop an international Indigenous Health Research Center at Whitecap, Dakota, and that work is underway. When we look at mentorship, we keep on recruiting 20, 30, 40 new faculty members every year, but we know that mentorship is a career and the stage specific. We are trying to build a really a university-wide mentorship program. Professor Bidwell, Papa Girakis, and Jaswant Singh are leading that effort, but they do not want to replicate anything which is working in the colleges. So they are really doing a good scan of the mentorship programs in the colleges and support it where it's needed, and this will start to make a difference in the coming years. Living Skies Postdoc Fellows Program is underway. The first round of funding was allocated. The second call is about to go out in a week or two, so please stay tuned. Rankings and awards, I spoke, Jennifer Drennan is leading that effort in the research office, but this is a project in partnership with the provost and the president. So we are really paying attention to the data, how we submit it, and I think we are going to rise in the rankings in the coming years based on the work that we do. And collaboration and celebrations are the key. When we get together, really the magic happens. We have begun 3 initiatives out of the research office. Campus conversations, where small groups of our scholars come together, they talk to me, and then we go from there, solve minor logistical issues or bigger ones. It is quick turnaround on an issue and then solving it. Researchers talk about our broader programs, how we can lead, how we can sustain, what are the new opportunities, and the research intersections is to bring interdisciplinarity into our gatherings. And so these are underway. And when we look at the country engagement framework, we are making good progress in India and Germany, and I think we are going to create collaborating hubs in those countries to have multi-university, multidisciplinary collaborations in one country so that we can support it, we can enhance it, and we can also provide resources for that. And then core research facilities, it's a big issue for us. It is taking lots of our money to sustain the infrastructure that we have, but Dr. Terry Fonstad is going to look at, are we using the infrastructure well, optimally, and effectively before we build a new building, new lab, before we buy a new microscope. So Dr. Terry Fonstad has gotten on with this project, so let us see where he takes us. Indirect cost of research policy revision, sorry, we could not get this one going because there's another project underway to look at the way we spend our money. So we will work with Dr. Greg Fowler and the Provost Office to get this one underway in the coming year. Responsible conduct of research policy was approved by the council. The office is set up. Dr. Trevor Crow is the leader there. So this needed to be done. It has been done. This was a big issue that was flagged to me when I came in as Vice President Research. The time for applying and getting the permit was getting too long. And now we have cut it in half in the last 12 months. So we are down from 60 days to about 37 days from the application to permit in hand. So really, good work there. There has been some investment in a couple of short-term positions, and that's why we were able to do that. And Dr. Fonstead is trying to will build a slightly long-term plan for the ethics office. And shared services, again, in partnership with the provost and the colleges and our VP Finance, we will make it happen. Signature area renewals done, 3 new signature areas added over the last year. Massive collaborative exercise. Think about 3-4 signature areas, pitches got together to make one signature area. Music joining with health to create health and wellness. Quantum innovation. Communities and sustainability are the new areas which have been identified. We continue to lead national effort to build Canada's neutron capacity. I co-lead that effort with McMaster University BPR, and that is really progressing very, very well. Building accountability, we have not begun this one. This needs a bigger conversation. We hope to get it underway this year. Publicly engaged scholarship, we have the report, consultation was done. Dr. Don Wallin is putting some early steps together to make it, speed it up in the coming year. And there's quite a bit of work we need to do on publicly engaged scholarship. We are very good at that, but we really need to bring into some sort of a solid foundation so that we don't have a hiccup every few years and then we go back to drawing board. Opus Incubator has been created. Thank you, Alex, for that. And it is already active. And I hope it will bring our entrepreneurs within the university, connect them to the community outside in a very vibrant ecosystem in the city and in the province. So overall, most of the priorities that I announced last year, we have made progress on each one of them. And a couple of those that we did not begin, those will get underway in this academic year. For the next year, those priorities which are in progress, they will continue to happen, but there will be slightly different focus under these 3 headings: maintaining momentum, investing in researchers, and then invigorating our RSAW. So under the first one, we are going to do a formal launch of the incubator very soon in the fall to really highlight it to the community. For example, Canada First Research Excellence Fund. Our LOI was selected. We have submitted a full application. And you know, we already have 2 at this university. Just to put it in perspective, every university's LOI was not selected. I won't name the universities that are still very angry as to why their LOI was not selected, but ours is in there. So let us hope it will succeed. New Frontiers Research Fund, transformation grant, big $24-30 million grants. We have 2 LOIs in the final round. These 2 grants are going forward in 2 to 3 weeks' time. Let us see what happens with them. We continue to develop, support, lead National One Health Strategy and the Neutron Strategy. Public Health Agency of Canada, CIHR, and Canadian Food Inspection Agency approached us to create a gathering at University of Saskatchewan to talk about One Health. And we did that in June, and that work is going to pick up speed in the fall, and it will possibly lead to a funding mechanism for One Health strategy in our country. MSI funding, with the big grants coming in, there is large amount of post-award work that we have to do. It was quite inspiring to meet with this year's new scholars in their orientation, then at the President's House where we met them for the reception. Really, really outstanding scholars. So no wonder our trajectory of success is going to continue, but how do we support them? We have tight budgets, and we really sometimes can't build the type of infrastructure that everybody needs. So we need to find very creative ways of aligning those recruitments with what we have and sharing what we have with them and really building the culture of collaboration around infrastructure so that they can get together with each other. And the mentorship piece that I spoke a minute ago, we will get it underway. And I'm putting special focus on arts, humanities, and social sciences. I've been really paying attention to those 3 areas of work. Because sometimes I heard from many senior scholars that we do not talk about arts and the social sciences and humanities. So I regularly meet with them. I go to their performances. I'm trying to deepen my understanding of these areas of scholarly work and the artistic endeavors so that we can find ways to support them. And Dr. Darcy Marciniak has consulted across the campus, build a CIHR strategy. In this year, we are going to work with the health science deans as to how we can implement that strategy. We cannot go to the target of a $400 million research revenue. That actually is very likely will be our target over the next 5 to 7 years if we do not grow our CIHR funding. So this strategy is very critical for us to grow our research revenue and rise in the rankings to be among the top 10 in this country. And then within the research office, to look at how we spend our money, we have begun a multi-year service planning initiative. There's a similar endeavor being led by our provost and VP finance to look at benchmarking of our expenses with other universities across the country. And I think all those data are going to help us use our money very, very carefully to provide the best services that we can to our students and scholars and others within the community. There are challenges within the TABS model, which again, our provost is looking into, because many leaders have said the TABS model doesn't work very well quite often. And we took away the active-inactive researcher category in the TABS a year or so ago. We need to figure out a way how to allocate that money in a better way. And I want to talk about collaboration. The deans and associate deans of research are really the leaders within the colleges and the schools. We work with them. Our institutes, led by really terrific leaders like Steve Webb, Volker Gertz, and others, really make things happen in large-scale research projects. But we haven't found a way to connect our institutes more meaningfully with the colleges and the schools at our university. So we continue on that work, and that's why I'm meeting with the center and institute directors more regularly than previously every 4 months. Now I meet with them every 8 weeks. Similarly, regular meetings with the deans and the school directors every 6 to 8 weeks, and as a group meeting every 4 months to talk about the research, scholarly, and the artistic work to get their advice in. So I think that level of collaboration and communication is starting to make a difference. Centrally, as I mentioned repeatedly, collaboration with the vice presidents is the key to delivering services from the center. Every lab, when you walk in, you turn the light switch on, the lights come on. That is Greg Fowler's team making things happen every day, right? Dr. Irene leading very prudent resource allocation centrally to make sure that our resources and our plannings are well aligned with each other and really making a difference there. Our VP University Relations, Cheryl Hamlin, the new ones, and the previously Deborah Posega-Osberg. Through their collaboration, we have been able to get a new position. Anna Burton, she is the development director in the research office. In 3 months' time, we are already working with one of the deans to support nearly $1.5 million asked to a company out there. So I want to bring that service to the deans and the executive directors to support their research plans in the fundraising as part of the comprehensive campaign that we have, because more and more philanthropists are giving donations to solve some very complex problems. And we are working on infectious disease, on food, on water, on social issues. I think aligning those pieces from the research office with the comprehensive campaign will make a difference. I spoke already about Dr. Terry Fonstad and Don Wallin, and they are key part of the leadership on the research side. And again, collaboration. That is the key for us. The resources that we have, the people that we have, we will grow more, we will do more impactful work if we collaborate. We need to keep on finding better and better ways of collaborating with each other. And my last point is we need to pick up speed. We are slow. We don't do things as quickly as we need to. I gave you examples of ethics. Let's say 2 scholars get the grant, one in Germany, one at University of Saskatchewan for the same idea. Our scholar takes 2 months to get the first experiment done. German guy does it in a month. Who is going to publish in Nature or Science or some other high-impact journal? Not us. So that makes a difference. So we need to find ways to really speed up our work, our collaboration, our grant writing, our projects, and that's the way to progress. So that will make a difference as well. So with this, I really am grateful that you made time. I think it was slightly longer presentation, but there was so much to talk about, to celebrate across all disciplines that I really wanted to take that moment to speak to. So thank you so very much. Let's take some questions and any suggestions, any advice. Peter is here with us as well. Peter, would you like to say anything from your perspective for research and everything? Maybe you will announce lots of money for the research.
I'll just say, first of all, thanks a lot, Baljit, for this tremendous presentation. It's really useful for the university community to see all the things that different parts of it are doing, because it's such a complex place, such a big place, that it's rarely the case when we get to have an overview of all the wonderful things that are going on. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I really think that we should take a lot of notice about that 54th, 58th in the THE impact rankings, because increasingly universities are about having an impact.
Right.
We would love to see our rankings being higher in the QS and the others as well, no question about that. But if there is a ranking that I think sends a signal about the quality of the work that we're doing and the fact that we are trying to be of service to the larger challenges that the world faces, that's it. And if we saw a lower ranking than that, or a very low ranking out of 1,400 universities around the globe, I think that would be an issue for us. So I'm glad that you pointed out that this year, and it's been the case for as long as those THE rankings on impact have been available, that we are doing really, really well. And I want to applaud all of the work by all of the people in this room and far beyond it that has led to that, because it doesn't just happen by chance. It's because we are absorbing into the culture of who we are that phrase of being the university the world needs, that kind of thing happens. So that's the second thing that I'd say. The third thing I want to congratulate you and everybody on is the continuing work that's been done on the signature areas. I know it is contentious at any university, including this university, to identify areas of preeminence, because it somehow suggests that everybody else isn't on that bus. But you're doing it in such a collaborative way with the provost that we can all take pride in the fact that there are areas that we have that kind of impact, evidence-based globally, and we should take advantage of that for the benefit of the thousands to millions of people who receive the benefit of that kind of work. So I wanted to thank you for that as well. Much else to say,
Right.
But I think that's it. I'd add, but you had already pointed it out, that because of all the work that Baljit and his team are doing, and by extension everybody in this room and beyond, we are really beginning to be deliberate and purposeful about the role that we play within the regional and national and international innovation ecosystem. Alex Hayden is here. She's a big part of that as well. There are many other people in the room who are doing that. And when you look at the other great research-intensive universities in the world, they are understanding the role that they can play within that innovation ecosystem, and I think that's a corner that we're turning here that will have a massive impact. economically and in so many other ways on the region. So that's enough from me, but thanks for
Thank you.
asking me to say something. Thanks, Baljit, for
you,
your
Peter.
leadership.
If anybody has any questions, put your hand up and I'll bring the mic to you. Save you the long trip.
Right.
Yeah. Don't be shy. Because we're also live streaming this, so we'll see if there's any questions coming online. But any questions? I think you covered it well then.
So again, this has been a terrific year, great year, and next year the priorities are already underway. We have massive amount of work to do, and at the national or the international level, at the local level, so we really have a huge story in front of us. I see a hand up there. Nikki?
Furthering the discussion on research areas, what is the anticipated structure and support for those new areas?
Signature areas. Very soon, in the next couple of weeks, we are going to announce the leadership for each of the signature areas. Dr. Irene and I, as we work together, are also going to announce some support for each of the signature areas, so that they can take their meetings, they can have a speaker series, they can build the collaboration within each one of them. We learn from experience. Previously, we announced signature areas, but we did not put clearly aligned logistical and other support behind each one of them. So you will see by the end of this month, very likely we will announce the signature areas, announce some funding for them, and then they will get off to their work. Then we are going to support them to come together every so often, present to the community as to what they are doing within their signature areas to complete the loop, so that it's not once we announce them, then disappear. And we are going to keep this cycle a bit more active. 3 years from now, I'm imagining, we will open a call for new ideas to come from the community. So we will continue to do that. Because that collaborative piece last year was quite inspiring as we went through it. It was not as contentious as it was in 2011-12, when people like me were advocating for One Health, for example. It was sort of, some people were winners, others didn't get something, some people became angry and upset. So it was different. So this time, learning from that experience, we built a more collaborative approach. And out of the 17 pitches, I think we were able to accommodate 14 into one or other signature areas, not simply to make everybody happy, but letting them do the work on their own. Where do you fit? How do you change what you are proposing to do? And again, when it looks at MSI funding, like team led by Laura Zink, like does massive amount of work, right? And so it's huge endeavors. The front office with Alice, Diana, and Julie, they support so much of your telephone calls, emails, and it's a massive team effort from every unit and then into the research office. Any other comments, questions? If not, then I think we are good to go. You can look forward to another presentation 12 months from now. Thank you.